Good morning and welcome, everybody, to this joint session on Italy-Georgia partnership and the Georgian Minister Gianelidze and our Minister Paolo Gentiloni. It's a pleasure to welcome here. There are so many members of the government, of Georgian institution, of the parliament, of non-parliamentary forces, of think tanks. There will be Minister Gianelidze will introduce the conversation, followed by remarks by Minister Gentiloni, who will give us an overview of Italy's vision on the future of Europe and of course on Italy-Georgia partnership. And then we will open up to questions, and the Q&A session will be moderated by the president of Rondelli Foundation. And let me thank both the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Georgia and Rondelli Foundation for having co-organized this event with us. We will have around 30 minutes, then we will wrap it up 5 minutes before 1. You can follow the highlights of the visit on our Twitter account at Italy in Georgia, and this debate is going streaming on both the website of the ministry and the website of Rondelli Foundation. Thanks, and let me invite to the podium and give the floor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Georgia, His Excellency Mikhail Gianelidze. Thanks.
Thank you, Ambassador, and thank you for organizing this excellent event. Your Excellency, Minister Gentiloni, dear friend, dear Paolo, dear members of government and parliament, Your Excellencies, representatives of Diplomatic Corps in Georgia, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to see this really distinguished audience today here. And it's, as Ambassador mentioned, it's attestation to the interest of Italian-Georgian relations. It is my genuine and utmost honor to host our dear friend, Minister Gentiloni, in Georgia, in the city of Tbilisi, that translates as a warm place from the Georgian. And this name symbolizes neatly not only the balmy climate that our countries share, but also heartfelt spirit of our bilateral relationship, characterized by mutual respect, friendliness, and multifarious cooperation, straddling economy, culture, sports, science, education, and many more aspects. In this connection, we are very grateful to the municipality of Rome for the recent decision to name one of the streets of the Eternal City after Tbilisi. And it shows that these bonds are centuries old between our countries. Suffice it to say that the very first Georgian language printed book was the Georgian-Italian Dictionary, published in Rome in 1629. And the Tbilisi Opera House, one of our city's most beautiful landmarks, is the 1847 piece of work of Italian architect Antonio Scudieri. As a country in the southeastern Europe, aspiring for closer integration and subsequent membership into the European Union, we look at the European trajectory of Italy with respect and admiration. And today's topic is very actual and very important. And it is important to have debate on the future of Europe and the role of our countries in that future. Italy is one of the founding members and leaders of the European Union, as we all know. Italian visionaries like Alcide de Gasperi and Altiero Spinelli were among the first ones on the continent who recognized and foresaw in the depths of the Second World War the enduring benefits of the united Europe. They had to wait for almost 2 decades, suffered persecution and privation before they saw their dreams vindicated and went down into history as the founding fathers of the European Union. The biographies of these 2 men, so different in character and ideological affiliation, but united in the aspiration to see Europe unified, prosperous, and at peace, makes a persuasive case for diverse political forces in Georgia and many aspirant countries. The pursuit of the bigger goals, which transcend the barriers of domestic politics and personal beliefs, requires flexibility, patience, and genuine political culture. The EU itself and many EU member states are going through challenging times, but I'm sure that vision and political maturity will prevail, and the EU will come out only stronger out of all these processes. Today, the world in general and Europe in particular are facing not only political and institutional, but the evolving and increasingly complicated security challenges, emanating primarily from the East and the Southeast. In this regard, both of our countries are to be viewed in a rather vulnerable position, facing directly the unstable Middle East and Mediterranean, with the raging conflict in Syria and threats coming from the Russian Federation. It is therefore incumbent on both Italy as a loyal NATO ally and Georgia as an aspirant country and a net contributor to the international security to find the ways of enhanced security cooperation both in bilateral and wider regional formats. Along these lines, the recent decision of the North Atlantic Council Alliance to establish forward presence in its eastern and southeastern parts, decision on enhanced cooperation for the Black Sea security, as well as NATO-Georgia partnership offers significant opportunities. Georgia's membership in NATO becomes every day even more actual for the security and stability of the Euro-Atlantic space. Over the last several years, Georgia has made a number of meaningful steps towards realization of our Euro-Atlantic dream. The country has moved up in virtually every ranking pertaining to democratic development and economic progress. By successfully completing the 2-round parliamentary election, which were deemed very transparent, free, and fair by the record number of international observers for Georgia, we ensured further consolidation of our democracy. It brings us closer to Europe, which is Georgia's natural habitat, politically as well as culturally. What does Georgia mean for Europe and for Italy, in addition to upholding European values? I think everyone knows the answers, but I have to highlight some of them. In May this year, the Prime Minister Kvirikashvili attended the launching ceremony of the important part of the Southern Gas Corridor Trans-Adriatic Pipeline project in Thessaloniki. The Southern Gas Corridor is one of the most complex gas value chains ever developed in the world, stretching over 3,500 kilometers, crossing even 7 countries, including Georgia, and involving more than a dozen major energy companies. It is comprised of several separate energy projects representing a total investment of approximately 45 billion USD. The Southern Gas Corridor is a major component of EU energy policy. TAP has been designated as a project of common interest, and Europe's energy community has named it a project of energy community interest. It will also ensure that one of the continent's vital energy routes remains viable for decades to come. Furthermore, Georgia has established over the course of the last year significant economic and trade relations with a number of major countries in our region and in East Asia. In this context, being uniquely located at the crossroads of East and West, North and South, Georgia has the potential to serve as a gateway for European and Italian businesses and investments to this economically vibrant part of the world. I firmly believe that this is an excellent opportunity to further develop our already steadily growing economic and investment ties, which will also lead to the intensification of the people-to-people relations. In this connection, let me just note that the number of tourists to Georgia experiences a robust growth in recent years, and higher share of Italian visitors will be more than welcome. Dear Minister, I want to use this opportunity and thank you personally once again for the very firm and committed position on the visa liberalization of Georgia. We have did a lot in order to achieve this step in our European integration process, and we appreciate your confirmation of those achievements. We have supported low-cost flights to dozens of European cities, and we are happy that since September, Milan is in the list of these destinations. Of all European countries, Italy has always been among the most popular destinations for many Georgians for well-known reasons, like the beauty of its architecture, the richness of museums, history, and many others. But the most important reason is the spiritual and emotional affinity of the Italian people. Actually, I will name one more reason, and it's football. One can safely state that the vast majority of Georgian football fans have been for decades divided into those who rooted for AC Milan, for Internazionale, or for Juventus. But I remain Internazionale tifoso since childhood. So, Your Excellency, so these were just a few examples of our numerous ties and interests our countries share for not only for the interests of our countries, but also for the interests of the Europe in general, and ties between our peoples. And I'm sure that because so much unites us, there will be only prosperous developments in our bilateral relations. Thank you. And it's a great pleasure to be here once again with you, and then looking forward to answering other questions from the audience.
And now it is my pleasure to invite to the podium Minister Gentiloni. Please.
Good morning. Buongiorno, Gamarjoba, Mr. Minister, dear Mikhail, members of the government and of the parliament, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure and an honor for me to visit Georgia and to start off my journey in the Caucasus from here. I particularly wish to come to Tbilisi following a delicate round of elections, which strengthens the process of reform and democracy in this important country. I'd like to thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Rondelli Foundation for the support provided in organizing this event. Ladies and gentlemen, the European Union is living through one of the most difficult phases in its history. Today's situation conveys the impression of a sort of perfect storm with converging challenges: terrorism, migration flows, Brexit, rising populism, and the enduring effects of the economic recession, especially on youth unemployment. Confronted with such multiple challenges, we cannot be spectators. The minimalist agreement we reached in the last September summit in Bratislava cannot address the challenges before us. Business as usual doesn't work. Our task is to prove to our citizens that the EU is part of the solution and not of the problem, winning back support to the EU project. If we are brave, we will prevail. In order to do that, Italy is determined to turn the crisis opened by Brexit into an opportunity. We need to show that democracy can deliver And this is why we must be able to deliver on a number of concrete priorities: security, migration flows, as well as growth, employment, and youth policies. Let us start from migration, since the stakes are especially high for Europe. At stake are our cohesion, identity, and the very future of the European project. Failing to manage migration properly would entail a progressive EU disunion. In order to manage migration flows effectively, we need leadership, responsibility, and solidarity. Europe made some progress in this respect, as in the case of the EU-Turkey agreement that has dramatically reduced the flows along the Balkan route. But there is still a long way to go, especially on the central Mediterranean route. This is the right time to switch from an emergency approach to a more strategic one, developing a strong and inclusive cooperation with all the origin and transit countries and addressing the root causes of migration. In the last years, Italy has been very often alone in the effort to save lives in the Mediterranean. For this reason, the Italian government is pleased to see today that its proposal, our proposal, of a migration compact has been largely welcomed. The migration compact has the ambition to become a new pact for Africa on the basis of a clear partnership and a shared responsibility. It is now crucial to conclude rapidly the compacts currently negotiated with a selected number of African countries: Nigeria, Niger, Senegal, Ethiopia, and Mali. To facilitate this achievement, I visited Nigeria last August, and beginning next Thursday, I will travel to Niger, Mali, and Senegal, together with the European Commissioner of Migration, Avramopoulos. Beyond migrations, the other existential challenge for the European future is terrorism. We are facing a hybrid, asymmetric, and global challenge, a threat from both outside and inside our societies. With their ferocious actions against theaters, restaurants, airports, metro, the jihadists want us to live in fear. Our aim should remain to push back and destroy Daesh on the field and to eradicate its attractiveness for European Muslims. In this respect, as you know, Georgia and Italy are participating to the global coalition against Daesh. A high number of foreign fighters moved to Syria, Iraq, and Libya, not only from Europe, but also from the Caucasus region. And this is a plague which needs to be healed, and we are sparing no effort in this regard. I know that the Italian, Georgian governments have the same understanding on the subject. The last military developments to liberate Mosul are extremely important. Mosul is where Daesh leader al-Baghdadi declared his so-called caliphate. And now it is the place where the caliphate faces its demise. But terrorism will not disappear once, we all hope,